They said they could only afford one ticket, so my sister got the vacation. When they came back, they discovered I was gone for good, and I'd taken everything I had ever paid for with me. You know that moment when your whole life just flashes before your eyes? That's what happened to me, but instead of my life, it was 28 years of being my family's financial doormat, all because of a vacation they planned, without me. This isn't just about money, it's about betrayal, self-worth, and finally, finding the courage to walk away. ***, my name is Amanda, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the responsible one. My sister, Jessica, 3 years younger, was the charming, spontaneous golden child. While I was busting my butt, saving every penny, and working part-time through high school and college, Jessica was spending like water, always knowing someone, usually me, would bail her out. After graduating with a computer science degree, I landed an amazing job at a tech company in Austin. Meanwhile, Jessica, at 25, was still living at home, 3 years out of college, pursuing her artistic dreams, mostly posting lifestyle content on Instagram and working part-time at mom's friend's boutique. Oh, and did I mention I'd been paying my parents $800 a month towards their mortgage since I was 20? You'd think all that would earn me some respect. Some gratitude, maybe? Nope. Instead, I was constantly lectured about being selfish with my money, antisocial for working long hours, and not being supportive enough of Jessica. When I finally bought myself a decent car after driving a 15-year-old Honda into the ground, Mom called it showing off. When I moved into my own apartment, Dad said I was abandoning the family. But I kept paying. I kept helping. I kept hoping they'd finally see I was the one who deserved their pride. The breaking point, the absolute gut punch, came 6 months ago. Mom and Dad announced their dream European vacation for their 30th anniversary. I was genuinely excited for them. They deserved it. Then, at Sunday dinner, Mom dropped the bomb, "We're taking Jessica with us. She needs inspiration for her blog, and the photos will be amazing." I looked up from my plate, utterly confused. "What about me?" Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Well, honey, we can only afford one, and Jessica really needs this right now. She's been so stressed." I offered, I could pay for my own ticket. Even as I said it, something cold was settling deep in my stomach. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, Amanda, you know how you get when you travel. All anxious and worried about schedules. Jessica will be so much more fun to have along. Besides, you can afford to take your own vacation anytime you want." I just sat there in stunned silence as they gushed about restaurants Jessica found on Pinterest. Nobody asked what I wanted to see. It was like I wasn't even in the room. That night, I went home and really looked at my life. For almost a decade, I'd been their mortgage payment. I bought Jessica's car when hers broke down. Countless dinners, gifts, emergencies. I'd furnished half their house. I had receipts for everything, meticulously filed because that's just how I am. And what did I have to show for it? A family who saw me as a walking ATM, too boring and anxious to even deserve a spot on their dream trip. The next morning, I started making plans. But first, I needed to see the full scope of my contributions. I spent the entire weekend combing through financial records. The spreadsheet I created would have made my accounting professor weep with joy. The numbers were staggering. Beyond the $96,000 in mortgage payments, there was another $47,000 in direct purchases, the $2,800 refrigerator, the $4,200 living room furniture, Jessica's $18,000 car, which I co-signed, then took over payments for when she defaulted. Her laptop, camera gear, designer clothes, medical bills. I was the family's unofficial treasury, funding everything from Dad's golf clubs to Mom's spa days. Looking at those numbers, I felt simultaneously vindicated and sick. Vindicated because, wow, I wasn't crazy. I'd been carrying this family. Sick because I saw how completely I'd been taken advantage of, and how willing I'd been to let it happen. The worst part? Remembering all the times they'd made me feel guilty for not giving more. "You're being jealous and selfish," Mom had said when I hesitated to co-sign for Jessica's car. Dad accused me of acting superior when I suggested they budget. I'd internalized their criticisms so deeply, I'd forgotten my own priorities. When was the last time I bought myself something nice without guilt? Or took a vacation without worrying about a family emergency? That Sunday, driving past the house I grew up in, I finally saw it with clear eyes. Well-maintained, perfect landscaping, Jessica's spotless car in the driveway. This wasn't a struggling family. This was a family living comfortably beyond their means because I was always there to catch them. Meanwhile, my own apartment was modest, practical, furnished with second-hand pieces. I'd been living like a college student while funding their upper-middle-class lifestyle. The disparity was grotesque. Monday morning, I called HR, remote work. Turns out they were happy to expand their Austin presence. That opened up a whole new world. I could live anywhere. Start fresh. Be me, not just Jessica's sister or the responsible daughter. Denver kept popping up in my research: tech scene, outdoor life, reasonable costs. It felt far from family obligations. Now, that distance felt like a feature, not a bug. Next, a lawyer. Specialized in family disputes. I brought my spreadsheet, my receipts, my photos. "This is quite thorough," she said, raising an eyebrow. I explained my financial obsession. "Lucky for you," she replied. She explained gift law. Legally, I retained ownership unless explicitly transferred. "Most family stuff," she said, "is informal, based on assumptions. But my texts and emails, where Mom and Dad acknowledged paying me back or making it up to me. This changes everything." I left her office feeling utterly empowered. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't selfish. I had been systematically exploited, and I had every right to reclaim what was mine. Over the next few days, the concrete plans took shape. I found movers who specialized in delicate situations, asset divisions, families splitting up. Patricia, the coordinator, was professional and understanding. "We see this more often than you'd think," she said. "The key is documentation and moving quickly." I scheduled the move for the Wednesday after my family left for Europe. That would give me a full day. The hardest part? Acting normal at family dinners leading up to the trip. I listened to their itinerary, Jessica's excitement, their restaurant plans. No one asked about my life. During one particularly painful dinner, Mom showed me their boutique hotel in Paris. "So charming," she gushed. "Jessica found it." Dad added, "We almost upgraded to a suite for 3, but it was too expensive. Maybe next time, we can all go together." Maybe next time. That casual, non-committal phrase revealed everything. I was an afterthought. A financial resource. Jessica, meanwhile, was a constant stream of social media updates, new outfits, screenshots of European locations, countdowns. So lucky. So much content. Not one person noted my exclusion. I had also done my own deep dive into every major purchase: the refrigerator, the living room set, the dining room table, the washer and dryer, Jessica's MacBook Pro, the new TV. About 30 items, nearly $40,000 worth. All mine, legally, because I had the receipts. Everything fell into place with an almost cosmic ease. It felt like the universe was finally on my side. 2 weeks before their departure, I had dinner with them one last time. They were giddy, showing me their itinerary, Jessica's credit card-funded wardrobe. Still no one asked about me. "Make sure to take lots of pictures," I said, genuinely smiling for the first time in months. "Oh, we will." Jessica bubbled. "My follower count is going to explode." "I'm sure it will," I agreed. They left on a Tuesday morning. I helped them load suitcases, waved goodbye. As their taillights vanished, I pulled out my phone. "Hi, this is Amanda Mitchell. I'd like to schedule a pickup for tomorrow morning." The moving company was phenomenal. Professional. Efficient. asked no questions. I had my inventory, receipts, and the lawyer's documentation. On Wednesday, the truck arrived. The refrigerator, dishwasher, washer/dryer, carefully handled. Furniture wrapped. Even smaller items, coffee maker, blender, Jessica's laptop. By Thursday evening, my parents' house looked like it had been hit by the world's most selective tornado. All their photos remained, their purchased items. But the major appliances were gone, replaced by gaping spaces and disconnected wires. The living room had a faded floral couch from the garage, their old coffee table. My TV, my entertainment center? Gone. Walking through the house one final time, a complex mix of emotions washed over me. Satisfaction, seeing the physical proof of my contributions. You really notice a refrigerator's absence. But also sadness. This house held decades of memories, and I was effectively erasing myself from their daily lives. I paused in Jessica's room. Her desk, the one I bought when she started community college, was gone. Replaced by a tiny, wobbly thing from middle school. Her laptop, which I paid for, sat precariously on it. I'd left the laptop because it felt too personal, too crucial to her work. But seeing it now, I wondered if I'd been too generous. The kitchen. Oh, the kitchen. It was transformed the most dramatically. The old, builder-grade fridge from 1998, barely functional even when I was in high school, now stood center stage. Bare countertops where my coffee maker, blender, and stand mixer used to be. Even the microwave was gone, replaced by a tiny countertop model from their first apartment. The irony wasn't lost on me. This kitchen, the site of so many dinners where I'd felt inadequate. Now, it looked exactly like what it was without my contributions, the kitchen of a family making do, living paycheck to paycheck. I took photos of everything. Not out of malice, but for documentation. If they tried to claim I'd taken more, I wanted proof. As I prepared to leave, I thought about all the evenings I'd spent in this room, watching movies, helping Jessica with homework at the coffee table I'd bought. Those memories felt tainted now. My contributions weren't seen as love, they were seen as my role as the family bank. Standing in the doorway, I knew this was likely the last time I'd ever see this house. Even if we reconciled, our relationship would be fundamentally different. I would never again be their financial safety net. I would never again prioritize their comfort over my own. The house felt smaller, as if removing my things had shrunk not just its functionality, but its very sense of possibility. It looked like what it truly was, a middle-class home, occupied by middle-class people, living a middle-class life. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was a far cry from the upper-middle-class comfort they'd enjoyed with my help. I locked the door, slipped the key and a note through the mail slot, and walked to my car. I didn't look back. That chapter was officially closed. The note simply said, "Mom and Dad, I've taken back the items I purchased over the years. Everything removed was bought and paid for by me, with receipts to prove it. Copies of documentation are on the counter. I've moved to Denver and won't be returning. My role in this family was to provide financial support with no emotional support in return. I deserve better. Don't worry about the mortgage payments, I've paid $96,000, which more than covers the value of what I've taken. Consider us even. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. I'm starting my new life. Amanda. P.S. Jessica, your laptop is in your room. Since I'm no longer subsidizing your lifestyle, you might want to consider finding a real job." I drove away that Saturday morning, my own belongings loaded into a U-Haul trailer. With every mile, I felt lighter, shedding years of resentment and disappointment. They returned from Europe. On Sunday, my phone started ringing at 11:47 p.m. I was in my new Denver apartment, unpacking my own furniture. I didn't answer. The calls came for hours, Mom, Dad, Jessica, even some extended family members they'd roped in. I let them all go to voicemail. Monday morning, I listened. Mom was hysterical. "Amanda, what have you done? The house is empty." How could you do this to us? We're your family. Dad was furious. This is theft, Amanda. You can't just take things because you paid for them. They were gifts. Jessica, predictably dramatic, you've ruined everything. How am I supposed to work without my computer? You're destroying my career. 17 voicemails. Each one more indignant than the last. Not one acknowledged my years of financial support. Not one mentioned how hurtful it was to be excluded from their vacation. They were completely focused on what I had taken, not what I had given. I deleted them all. And then I blocked their numbers. Tuesday, a call from my lawyer. My parents had contacted the police. The officer, after seeing my documentation, told Dad, "Your daughter has receipts for everything. She paid for it. She owns it. This is a civil matter at best, and frankly, she's got a stronger case than you do." Wednesday brought emails, long, rambling guilt trips. Mom was embarrassed by the state of the house. Dad focused on the financial hardship of replacing everything. Jessica's email was a masterpiece of self-absorption, detailing how my selfish behavior was affecting her mental health and creative output. I read them once, set up an auto-delete filter, and moved on. I was done being their emotional dumping ground. By Friday, I'd started my new job at a Denver tech startup. Challenging, exciting work. Friendly colleagues who actually cared about my ideas. I was making more money than ever, and for the first time every penny was mine. 3 weeks later, a certified letter from a law firm. My parents were threatening to sue. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a simple note, "Please handle this." He called the next day, barely suppressing laughter. "They don't have a legal leg to stand on," he said. "I'll send them a response outlining your documentation and suggest they drop this before they rack up more legal fees they can't afford." That was the end of the legal threats. A month later, my cousin Rachel, the one family member I always got along with, called. She'd somehow gotten my new number. "Amanda," she said carefully. "I know there are two sides to every story, but did you really clean out your parents' house while they were on vacation?" "I took back the things I bought over the years," I said. "Everything I removed, I paid for." A long pause. "How much stuff are we talking about?" I gave her a rough inventory. Another pause. "Jesus, Amanda. I had no idea you'd bought so much for them. They never mentioned it." "Are you kidding? They've been telling everyone you stole their belongings out of spite because you weren't invited." "I left everything that actually belonged to them," I said firmly. "Every family photo, every piece of jewelry, every item of sentimental value. I only took things I had receipts for." Rachel was quiet. "You know what? Good for you. I always wondered why you kept giving them money when they treated you like crap." That conversation gave me hope that maybe, just maybe, not everyone would see me as the villain. 2 months later, Jessica called from an unrecognized number. Curiosity got the better of me. "Amanda," her voice was small, not her usual dramatic tone. "Please don't hang up." "What do you want, Jess?" "I got a job," she said quietly. "At a marketing firm. Entry level, but it's a real job, with benefits." "Congratulations." I wanted to apologize, she rushed on. "I never realized how much you did for us. I mean, I knew you helped, but I didn't understand the extent of it until everything was gone, and Mom and Dad couldn't replace any of it. They're really struggling, Amanda. Dad's talking about a loan for a new fridge. Mom's doing laundry at the laundromat. They managed before I started helping them," I said evenly. "They'll figure it out. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but couldn't you at least help with the basics? Just until they get back on their feet?" And there it was. Even her apology was a plea for money. "No," I said, simply. "But Amanda. I spent 10 years being your family's financial safety net," I interrupted. 10 years of my life making sure everyone else was comfortable, while being treated like I didn't matter. "I'm done." So that's it? You're just going to abandon us? Jessica, you're 25 with a job and no major expenses. Mom and Dad are in their 50s with their own income and a partially paid-off mortgage, thanks to my contributions. You're not abandoned. You're just not being subsidized anymore. She hung up. 3 months later, an old high school friend, Amanda, messaged me on Facebook. Your mom seems to think you had some kind of breakdown and moved away impulsively. She's asking people if they know how to contact you because she's worried about your mental health. I thanked her and updated my privacy settings. If they wanted to rewrite history, that was their choice. The people who mattered knew the truth. 6 months into my new life, I was thriving. Promoted at work. Genuine friends who valued me, not what I could provide. Hiking regularly in the beautiful Colorado mountains. I bought myself a new car, picked out entirely for my preferences. Saving money without guilt. I even started dating Mark, a software engineer I met through my hiking group. He was financially responsible and refreshingly direct. When I told him my family story, he didn't try to convince me to reconcile. He just said, "Sounds like you made a healthy decision," and changed the subject to our weekend plans. It was exactly the reaction I needed. Last month, Rachel called again. "I wanted to give you a heads up," she said. "Your parents are planning to drive out to Denver to surprise you for your birthday." My blood ran cold. How did they get my address? I don't know, but they're convinced if they just show up and talk to you face to face, they can convince you to come home. Rachel, I need you to understand, I don't want to work things out. I don't want them to visit. I built a new life here, and I'm happy for the first time in years. I get it, she said quickly. That's why I'm warning you. Maybe you could go out of town that weekend. I did better than that. I called my lawyer and had him send a cease and desist letter. Any attempt to contact me or visit my home would be considered harassment. I upgraded my apartment building's security and informed the front desk staff. My birthday came and went peacefully. If they made the drive, they never made it past the lobby. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard from any of them since. The silence has been both peaceful and unsettling. After years of constant calls, texts, emails, the complete absence of contact feels strange. I check my phone more often, not because I want to hear from them, but because the quiet is so unfamiliar. I'm filling that silence. The hiking group is a regular part of my week. I've joined a book club. Taking a photography class, something I always wanted to do but never had time for when managing everyone else's crises. Mark has been incredibly supportive. There's something refreshing about being with people who know me only as Amanda, the software engineer who loves mountain trails and craft beer, not Amanda, the family ATM with complicated guilt issues. I've also started seeing a financial advisor. It's embarrassing to admit I'm 28 and just now opening my first IRA, but better late than never. She was shocked by my previous spending. You were supporting a household of 3 adults on top of your own expenses, she said. No wonder you weren't building wealth. Looking at projections of where I could be in 5 or 10 years, if I maintain my current savings rate, is both exciting and infuriating. Exciting because the numbers are substantial. Infuriating because it highlights how much financial potential I sacrificed for people who never appreciated it. I wonder how my family is adjusting. Rachel's updates say it's been rocky. Mom spent the first month painting herself as the victim, talking about how disappointed she was in me, how I used to be so generous and now I'm selfish and cold. She seems genuinely confused. The fact that she can't connect their treatment of me to my departure speaks volumes about her self-awareness. In her mind, I'm the one who changed, not the dynamic that pushed me away. Jessica, meanwhile, has had to confront the reality of adult expenses. Rachel said she complains about buying her own groceries and gas, struggling with her commute because her car needs repairs she can't afford. She asked me if I thought you'd help with the car, Rachel said. I told her that ship had sailed. It's telling that even now, Jessica's first instinct is still to look for someone else to solve her problems. Dad has been the most pragmatic. He bought a used refrigerator and washing machine, picking up extra shifts. He seems almost relieved, Rachel observed, like maybe he knew they were living beyond their means, but didn't know how to change it. That comment stayed with me for days. Had my help actually trapped them in an unsustainable lifestyle? Had I enabled them to avoid making difficult choices? I think about the years I spent worrying about their mortgage, their utility bills, their emergencies. Lying awake, calculating if I could afford this repair or that expense. The constant stress. Meanwhile, they never experienced that stress because they knew I would always catch them. They never had to say no to a purchase because someone else would cover it. They never had to face the real cost of their choices because the cost was always shifted to me. In trying to help them, I had actually hurt them and myself. People ask if I miss my family or regret my decision. It's complicated. Do I miss family traditions? Sometimes. Do I regret standing up for myself? Never. I've learned that being related to someone doesn't give them the right to treat you poorly. Financial generosity means nothing if it's not paired with basic respect. Most importantly, I've learned that I'm worth more than the money I can provide. My old life was built around making other people comfortable at my expense. My new life is built around my own values, goals, and happiness. The difference is remarkable. To anyone in a similar situation, being taken for granted by family, constantly giving without receiving, feeling like a bank account instead of a person, you have options. You don't owe anyone your financial support, especially if they don't appreciate it. You don't owe anyone your presence if they consistently make you feel unwelcome or unimportant. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. I don't know if my family will ever understand why I left, or acknowledge their role. But I've made peace with the fact that their understanding isn't necessary for my happiness. I'm building new traditions with people who actually want me around. I'm planning vacations I'm excited about. I'm saving for my dreams. And for the first time in my adult life, I'm exactly where I want to be. Update: it's been almost a year Mark and I are talking about moving in together. Work is amazing, I'm being considered for a senior developer position. The irony isn't lost on me that my career flourished once I stopped worrying about everyone else's finances. I'm seeing a therapist, working through the lingering guilt and anger. She's helped me understand that my parents' patterns were set long before I enabled them, and my leaving probably created consequences they needed. The silence from my family is mostly complete. Rachel updates me occasionally, but I limit those conversations. Apparently, they eventually replaced the appliances, mostly used, smaller versions. Jessica got a small promotion. Life goes on. They've stopped asking Rachel for my contact information, which suggests they've finally accepted I'm not coming back. Part of me wonders if they ever truly understood why I left, or if they still see me as the daughter who inexplicably became selfish and cruel. But that's their story to tell themselves. And I've stopped trying to control it. My story is different. It's about a woman who spent her 20s supporting people who took her for granted, and her 30s building a life that actually makes her happy. It's about learning the difference between being generous and being used. It's about discovering you can love your family and still choose not to be part of their dysfunction. I don't know what the future holds, but I know it's mine to decide. After years of living for other people's expectations, that freedom is worth everything I left behind. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or immediate. Sometimes, it's simply living well without the people who couldn't appreciate you when they had the chance. To anyone who needs to hear this, you are worth more than what you can provide to others. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect and genuine affection. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who can't see your value. Trust me, the view from the other side is worth the journey.